welcome to a solo episode of Marc My Words. And this particular episode is going to be more of a look back and reflection, and hopefully a look into 2026. There were so many things that transpired with this podcast and just with me as a creator who's trying still to build themselves up a little bit more. There were quite a few things that happened this year, so I made a list of talking points, which is kind of unusual for me, even though I do prepare a lot mentally for my guests. This is definitely a first. So let me jump right into it. Lots of really, really positive things happened this year. There were some things maybe not so positive. It was definitely a bit of a roller coaster. And the first thing that I'm just going to jump right into, something that I actually booked at the end of 2024 was a recording session with Matthew Lesko. And I consider, and I've done so many episodes that have been wonderful, and I've met a lot of really amazing people. It is not a slight on all of my other guests, but my episode with Matthew Lesko was an absolute joy. Very, very wise man. And I made sure, even though I recorded that in 2024, it was like in the fall of 2024, I made sure that was the lead off episode for 2025. I really, at least for me, energy wise, it was a great episode to kick off the year. And lots of really great stuff early in the year. I know Mike Schmidt and AJ Rivera, Kirsten Peterson, Nancy Gillingham Marks, Igor, Rob Renee. I mean, just going through all of these episodes, there's a lot of really, really great stuff. However, one thing that I struggled with early in the year was holding down bookings. I had a really difficult time with people, like really good people, just canceling or not showing up, or, just for a number of different reasons. And it was one of those things that really kind of, I've done over 60 episodes. That's with guests and solo episodes. So I've done a lot of great work this year and was able to do a lot. But boy, I really had to work very hard because of just so many cancellations and stuff. And even like the middle of the year, towards the end of the year, I made burnout a talking point for this episode just because I burned out between everything going on with me as far as moving to another house and preparing the move and trying to keep up with a rigorous schedule I put myself up against. And, just I still have like a day job, and it was a lot. I really tried to stack a ton of work on my plate, and you couple that with cancellations, postponements, people forgetting, and a lot of lessons to learn on my end. But putting that aside, and even as I'm going through here, I mean, these episodes that I did this year, as I reflect and look back, the ones that I mentioned already absolute joy to do. David Griffiths was an amazing guy to talk to. Leslie Lane, her story was remarkable. Great to talk to Vince Quinn, who's from the same general part of the world that I am from in Pennsylvania. Brian Beckham, Salvatore Tirabassi, and I'm hoping to have more fractional CEOs, CFOs. That's something that I'm working on. Oh my goodness, I'm still going through. Drew Carmichael was incredible. I had two blind guests. One, Deborah Erickson, founder of the Blind Kitchen. Remarkable story there. Uh, Angela Fowler, CEO and accessibility coach. Her message, her story is one that really needs to be heard a lot more. Dr. Salas, who actually came on a day where I think I was still using Zoom. So Zoom was having an issue, and he stepped in and was so incredibly flexible. We jumped on StreamYard, got that episode recorded right on time, and he was a real joy to talk to. Incredibly flexible. That for me was also a really great episode, and I just keep going through. Qasem Aslam was a really great episode. I mean, really just a wonderful year. Jen Johnson, Drake Wolf, Dr. Wu was a great episode. And Scott Stoltz. So Scott is like the first reunion episode that I've ever had. And I got the idea when we did that episode. I've never had a sponsor for this show. And I kind of like decided just as I listened to that episode that maybe this was the right time and the right person to try out a sponsorship. And all new territory for me. If you've been listening to the show, you've been hearing the sponsorship for like pretty much the whole second half of the year. I'm very proud of the work that I did with Gavani, who works with Scott. And I feel like we did really good work there. I am unsure about sponsorship heading into 2026. That is something that we're going to talk about. And if there is, for some reason, no sponsorship, hey, mark my words. I almost said Mark My Schmidt. Mark My Words is going to roll right along. And again, I'm going through here just highlighting Paul Byrne, who rage quit their job. He was a great conversation. Marcus Howard, phenomenal conversation. I'm going to expose myself a little bit because there were some technical difficulties with that episode. At least, I think on his end, it sounded fine when we recorded it. There wound up being some difficulty just putting that episode together. I think I made it sound good enough that you can't really tell much. So I hope that that episode sounds good because I take a lot of pride in my technical expertise. So yeah, I really that was a great episode. So it meant a lot to me to make sure that I got that episode out there and it sounded good and we didn't have to like record it again or I had to disregard it. And I will admit that there was at least one episode that I had to kind of like disregard. And I'm even going to say that some of it was due to my performance in the episode. I kind of felt that my performance was not very good, and it kind of like showed. And I feel very bad for the person I recorded that episode with, because it just didn't come out very good. It was the last episode that I did, so I stopped doing pretty much all activity on this show for a few months just to get a little bit of, you know, R&R and to reboot and refresh. And I really needed it. And I feel bad. There is a chance that that episode might not have come out the way I wanted it to. I know I strive to get really unique voices and really unique episodes on this show, and that particular episode was very, very unique. And what we were talking about was a very good topic. I don't know if it was just a combination of my burnout and just not the right fit for the show, but I really felt like that episode actually did not come out the way I wanted it to. So that is a lesson that if something doesn't work out the way you want it to, it's a good time to just put a pause on it and not do it, frankly. And that's exactly what I did. So moving right along from that, I did have some episodes on the back end of the year that were also really, really good, at least in my opinion. Amori Shiki Alvarez, founder and CEO of Forest Delivery, he was quite good. Clay Moffat, that was a great episode. Albert Bramante, who for a while there was extremely popular on Podmatch. He was a very interesting episode. Everybody seems to love his expertise and what he has to say. Sheila Butler, very good. Marianne Hickman was probably one of my favorites. John Ferrara turned out to be one of my favorites. Moira Mills, who is another homeschool person, turned out to be one of my favorites. Rachel Allen. And I have one more episode that I'm going to be publishing hopefully next week. I'm not totally sure how I'm going to do the rest of the year here. I may publish this a week ahead. I guess long story short, I'm not sure about that. But Calvin Bagley, what an incredible story. I loved connecting with Calvin, and he was just magnificent. I really felt like we had a great connection and a ton in common, and I'm really excited for that episode to finally come out. It seems like there's a lot of parallels between his life experience and mine, so I'm really looking forward to putting that episode out. And it was just a fantastic year overall. I know I put a lot of burnout and stuff on myself, which I'm trying to work on, but it was a great, great year of guests, especially as I just went through everything kind of quickly there. Another thing that I did, I tried my hand at joining some podcast networks, and as some of you may know, I've been getting a lot of my guests, if not almost all of my guests, from Podmatch over the past few years. They have been wonderful. Alex, the founder of Podmatch, has been really amazing. And I actually was a part of his Podcasting Made Simple event. It's kind of like a TED Talky kind of event. I was a guest speaker. First time I've ever been a speaker for anything. And that was just an amazing experience. I need more experiences like that and would love to speak and talk about my life and experiences, which I've been opening up a lot more. If you've been listening to my show, I've been opening up more and more and more, and it's been very good for me. I think it's been very good for the show. And Alex doesn't know this. I don't think I've ever talked to him about this. Actually, I know I haven't. But I had kind of talked about going back to Podcasting Made Simple and decided not to do it, at least for now, because he gave me an opportunity to come back and speak to a lot of topics that he is passionate about. All wonderful, really amazing topics. But as I tried to record something for him, I wound up learning something because when I went on Podcasting Made Simple, I talked about imposter syndrome. I talked about my path, my journey, and something that really spoke to me. And while a lot of the talking points he wants to go into on his events are incredible, they're all very meaningful and amazing, I personally learned through that experience. I was like, you know something? I think I need to do something where I can talk a little bit more about things like imposter syndrome and living my life as somebody with a cleft lip and palate, opus, GG, BBB, syndrome. I don't really remember off the top of my head how that is laid out, but I want to do something with that. And I've been using ChatGPT an awful lot over the second half of the year, and I bounce the question off of them, just going off of all of that to figure out what I could do, like what kind of a show. And it gave me some suggestions, and it even gave me what I think is a really great title for a show called Scars and Strength. And it's something that I'm slowly but surely working on. I think you might see this project at some point in 2026. And that is largely due to the interactions that I had with Alex, who I actually don't know how he'll feel about that. Hopefully, he'll feel like he made a difference because he really did. He's made a humongous difference, and he inadvertently kind of gave me the idea and the push to kind of explore myself and what I really want to talk about. Not that I don't love talking to entrepreneurs. I have had an absolute blast, and I have every intention of continuing. Mark my words. I've already done a couple episodes for 2026. I'm a little behind when it comes to getting episodes, at least through my own watch and my own timetable. 2025 has just been quite a year, as I have tried to highlight through this episode here. I don't necessarily want to make this like an hour long year reflection episode. Um, so yeah, 2026. I'm gonna try to continue taking the same amount of care that I've been taking, trying to get really great guests, people who have something unique to say about the world of entrepreneurship, their path, their career, and just something that can hopefully inspire others, inspire me, your host. And, I plan to keep this rolling and hopefully, stars and strength. I'm hoping to have conversations with people like me, medical professionals that specialize in some of the things that I've grown up with and have lived with in life. I'm really looking forward to exploring that idea and making it a reality. And I can't wait. It's a project that I'm trying slowly but surely to put together, but I am trying to make Mark My Words as much of a priority as I can. I'm also, if you don't know, I am on TikTok, and TikTok has been a huge influence. I have met a lot of entrepreneurs off of TikTok. I've met a lot of just really great creators, live creators, people who don't even really go live much. I have met some just wonderful, wonderful people who have made a huge difference in my life. And I'm trying to figure out ways to incorporate TikTok into this show. I've tried recording a bunch of episodes live. Um, I got some other ideas. I am not rolling out just going live, maybe off of Twitch or doing something like that to try to generate more of an audience. I have a lot of ideas for growth, and I know that me going live with this more might require more of a structured schedule. So that is something I will have to work on. But I just wanted to shout out the impact that TikTok has had on me and my year. And it has definitely brought out a lot of good in me. And I'm looking forward. I really just want to go on there and continue to hopefully inspire people and help people to see that they're capable of doing a podcast or speaking to an audience on a live on TikTok or making YouTube content, whatever they want to do. If they want to make reels, whatever it is, we're all capable of sharing our voice, and I feel like we all have something to say that is worthwhile. And that's part of what Mark My Words is about. That is part of what my journey in life is about. Um, so, with all that being said, I guess the only other thing that I can really talk about, so again, I talked about joining the Podmatch Network, where my show is actually in the storefront of their network and is available there. I see the difference in downloads and reach, and I think that's something I definitely need to prioritize in 2026 and continue working on. I also want to point out, I'm not going to name what network or whatever. I tried for a few months joining another network, and it wound up being a mistake, Sometimes you roll the dice, and I know I'm not a huge dice roller. I tend to be pretty close to the vest and conservative with my decisions. I get a lot of inquiries from people who are, just looking to make some money and looking to grow. Some people don't go about it the right way. And I just want to point out that to join this other network, I had to pay what I consider quite a bit of money. It was, at least on the surface, a very nice looking network, had a lot of really hardworking professionals on it. But I learned that just because something does cost a few bucks to do, like significant money, it still doesn't mean that it's going to deliver what you need and it's going to be a good thing. And not only that, but I think that you're better off just sticking to your gut and sticking to your guns. And I was kind of back and forth on it and just decided I had a little extra money just from some of the good things that have been going on in 2025. So I took a chance on doing it and basically got out of it when I learned that it just wasn't feasible to keep it up. So, not necessarily looking to end this episode on that note, but don't always be enticed by that shiny, sparkly, delicious looking carrot that gets dangled out there, because it may not actually be the right thing for you. And I think the one thing that I have learned and did learn through that experience is I am somebody who is better off. And this is not to say that I would never have staff or anything like that, because I would love to have like a little more help staff wise and whatnot. But I think I need to continue just not aligning with things that, unless it just truly, truly, truly speaks to my message and what I'm about, just me personally, I'm way better off just being that lone wolf, me. I hate saying me against the world, but it's almost as if that's the best way for me to put it. And I think I'm okay with that. I love joining and being a part of the Podmatch Network. They have been absolutely terrific. Their platform, just everything from the time I started with them to today, they've just been incredible, supportive, down to earth, and they align with what I'm about and my values, and it's been an incredible experience. And I have loved that experience. And speaking of loving the experience, I have loved my experience as the host of Marc My Words. And we're coming up on 2026. I'm going to do everything I can to deliver the same kind of quality that I hope I have been bringing to the table. And I am looking forward to another really great year. I am really proud of everything I've accomplished. I thank everybody who has been a part of Marc My Words in 2025, whether you were one of my favorite episodes, whether you were a great episode, whether you were an episode that didn't work out, even those who knocked on my door, didn't show up. I appreciate that you even wanted anything to do with my show. Even the network that was a failed attempt to join what is probably a wonderful network for some people, just not for me personally. It just wound up not being for me. I thank those folks who gave me an opportunity. Like, they didn't have to give me an opportunity, but they did. I give a huge thank you to Podmatch, who have been absolutely incredible. I'm looking forward to continuing to be in their network, continuing to work with them. I am so grateful to Alex, Alicia, their whole team, and I'm just really looking forward to some continued collaboration or just being around. I should also note that I'm going to try to go to Podfest in Orlando in January, which is if I am able to go and I signed up to volunteer. Don't actually know at this point if I'll make it, if I'll go, but if I do go, boy, am I ever looking forward to that experience as well. And again, I should thank my sponsor. Let's thank my sponsor, Scott Stoltz, and a huge shout out and thank you to his business partner, Devani. We did a lot of collaboration and conversation about that sponsorship voiceover that you hear, and we had a lot of really amazing conversations together. And I know he has a project called The Structured Man that I'm rooting for. He has GrowX Labs, which I'm obviously rooting for, and, continued success on his projects. And huge shout out and thank you to Scott for being a sponsor, my first sponsor, and a continued awesome inspiration to me. And I thank you all for continuing to listen to my show and support me. It means everything to me. And I just want to say, have a happy rest of 2025. Have a great 2026. And let's go out there and do this. Let's see what 2026 brings. Let's rock it. And let's have another great year on Mark My Words and beyond. And I will hopefully talk to you all again very soon. Thanks again for tuning in and for listening. I am your host, as always, Mark Schmidt. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a wonderful day. I will see you soon. Bye.